2 Kings 23. And the sovereign sent, and they gathered all the elders of Yehuda and Jerusalem to him. And the sovereign went up to the house of Jehovah with all the men of Yehuda, and all the inhabitants of Jerusalem with him, and the priests and the prophets and all the people, both small and great. And he read in their hearing all the words of the book of the covenant, which had been found in the house of Jehovah. And the sovereign stood by the column and made a covenant before Jehovah, to follow Jehovah and to guard his commands and his witnesses and his laws, with all his heart and with all his being, to establish the words of this covenant that were written in this book. And all the people stood to the covenant. Then the sovereign commanded Hilkiah the high priest, and the priests of the second order, and the doorkeepers, to bring out of the Hekal of Jehovah all the objects that were made for Baal, and for Asherah, and for all the host of the heavens. And he burned them outside Jerusalem in the fields of Kidron, and took their ashes to Bethel. And he put down the black-robed priest whom the sovereigns of Yehuda had appointed to burn incense on the high places in the cities of Yehuda, and in the places all around Jerusalem, and those who burned incense to Baal, to the sun, and to the moon, and to the constellations, and all the host of the heavens. And he brought out of the Asherah from the house of Jehovah to Wadi Kidron outside Jerusalem, and burned it at the Wadi Kidron, and ground it to ashes, and threw its ashes on the graves of the sons of the people. And he broke down the houses of the male cult prostitutes that were in the house of Jehovah, where the women wove tapestries for the Asherah. And he brought all the priests from the cities of Yehuda, and defiled the high places where the priests had burned incense, from Geba to Beersheba, and broke down the high places at the gates, which were at the entrance of the gate of Yehoshua, the governor of the city, which were to the left of the city gate. However, the priests of the high places did not come up to the altar of Jehovah in Jerusalem, but they ate unleavened bread among their brothers. And he defiled Topheth, which is in the valley of the son of Hinnom, so that no man could make his son or his daughter pass through the fire to Molech. And he did away with the horses that the sovereigns of Yehuda had given to the sun. And at the entrance to the house of Jehovah, by the room of Nathan-Melech the eunuch, that were in the court, and he burned the chariots of the sun with fire. And the altars that were on the roof of the upper room of Ahaz, which the sovereign of Yehuda had made, and the altars which Menashah had made in the two courtyards of the house of Jehovah, the sovereign broke down, and rushed from there, and threw their dust into the Wadi Kidron. And the sovereign defiled the high places that were before Jerusalem, which were on the right hand of the mountain of destruction, which Shalomo, sovereign of Israel, built for Ashtoreth, the abomination of the Sidonians, and for Chemosh, the abomination of the Moabites, and for Milcom, the abomination of the children of Ammon. And he broke in pieces the pillars and cut down the Asherim, and filled their places with the bones of men. And also the altar that was at Bethel, and the high place which Jeroboam son of Nebat made, by which he made Israel sin. Both that altar and the high place he broke down. And he burned the high place and ground it to dust, and burned the Asherah. Then Yoshiyahu turned, and saw the tombs that were there on the mountain. And he sent and took the bones out of the tombs, and burned them on the altar, and defiled it according to the word of Jehovah, which the man of Elohim proclaimed, who proclaimed these words. And he said, What tombstone is this that I see? And the men of the city said to him, It is the tomb of the man of Elohim, who came from Yehuda, and proclaimed these matters which you have done against the altar of Bethel. And he said, Let him alone, and let no one move his bones. So they left his bones alone, with the bones of the prophet who came after from Shomeron. And Yoshiyahu also took away all the houses of the high places that were in the cities of Shomeron, which the sovereigns of Israel had made to provoke. And he did to them according to all the deeds he did in Bethel. And he slaughtered all the priests of the high places who were there, on the altars, and burned men's bones on them, and went back to Jerusalem. And the sovereign commanded all the people, saying, Prepare the Passover to Jehovah your Elohim, as it is written in this book of the covenant. For such a Passover had not been prepared since the days of the rulers who ruled Israel, nor in all the days of the sovereigns of Israel and the sovereigns of Yehudah. But in the 18th year of sovereign Yoshiyahu, this Passover was prepared before Jehovah in Jerusalem. And also Yoshiyahu put away those who consulted mediums and spiritists, and the household mighty ones and idols, and all the abominations that were seen in the land of Yehudah and in Jerusalem, in order to establish the words of the Torah, which were written in the book that Hilkiyahu the priest found in the house of Jehovah. And before him there was no sovereign like him, who turned back to Jehovah with all his heart, and with all his being, and with all his might, according to all the Torah of Moshe, and after him none rose up like him. However, Jehovah did not turn from the fierceness of his great wrath, in which his wrath burned against Yehudah, because of all the provocations with which Manasseh had provoked him. And Jehovah said, Even Yehudah I shall remove from my presence, as I have removed Yisrael, and I shall reject this city Jerusalem, which I have chosen, and the house of which I said, My name is there. And the rest of the acts of Yoshiyahu and all that he did, are they not written in the book of the annals of the sovereigns of Yehudah? In his days, Pharaoh Necho, sovereign of Mitzrayim, went up against the sovereign of Ashur, to the river Euphrates, and sovereign Yoshiyahu went out to him, and he killed him at Megiddo when he saw him. And his servants conveyed his body in a chariot from Megiddo, and brought him to Jerusalem, and buried him in his own tomb. And the people of the land took Jehoahaz, son of Yoshiyahu, and anointed him, and set him up to reign in his father's place. Jehoahaz was 23 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 3 months in Jerusalem. And his mother's name was Hamutal, the daughter of Yirmiyahu of Libnah. And he did evil in the eyes of Jehovah, according to all that his fathers did. And Pharaoh Necho imprisoned him at Riblah in the land of Hamath, to keep him from reigning in Jerusalem. And he imposed on the land a fine of 100 talents of silver and a talent of gold. And Pharaoh Necho set up Eliakim, son of Yoshiyahu, to reign in place of his father Yoshiyahu, and changed his name to Jehoiakim. And Pharaoh took Jehoahaz and went to Mitzrayim, and he died there. And Jehoiakim gave the silver and gold to Pharaoh, only he taxed the land to give silver according to the command of Pharaoh. He exacted the silver and gold from the people of the land, from every one according to his assessment, to give it to Pharaoh Necho. Jehoiakim was 25 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 11 years in Jerusalem. And his mother's name was Zebidah, the daughter of Pedaiah of Ramah. And he did evil in the eyes of Jehovah, according to all that his fathers did.